They could not be in the royal line if she had not had the children herself, or if Harry had not been involved. You know, those young musicians must be descended from royalty. And they have no hope of becoming members of the royal family without it. Music. This case concerns whether you believe Meghan was wearing a moon bump, if you believe the birth was real, and whether you believe there was a surrogate. The truth is that Buckingham Palace lied on behalf of Harry and Meghan. The birth of Princess Lilibet Diana, who has music been christened, was completely covered up. Why would they give their kids a title that is associated with an organization they despise? What if everyone's preconceived notions about Prince Harry's personal life were abruptly disproved? Everyone is wondering what's actually happening behind the scenes with Archie and Lilibet as new allegations begin to emerge. People are now making connections that previously didn't quite line together after Angela Levin came forward with details that are receiving significant attention. There are rumors circulating about how Harry is managing the strain, with some claiming that he is anxious due to the constant barrage of unforeseen inquiries. This subject is becoming more and more difficult to ignore due to unexpected developments and increased public interest. What exactly is this about, then? Are these merely uncontrollably circulating rumors, or is something more significant gradually emerging? The online conversation is heating up fast with people debating what all of this could mean for Harry, Meghan, and their family moving forward. The first thing that is drawing attention to the specifics being discussed right now is that these kids are growing up in some kind of weird music performance. You know, they resemble Michael Jackson's kids who were dressed in masks and paraded around the world. Yes, but keep in mind that he masked their faces and concealed their identities, music. Growing up with such dysfunctional parents who are abusing children makes it inevitable that they would be messed up. That's what I would say initially. The second thing I would say about the titles is that I believe Prince William is well aware of what happened when you were allowed to go amok for so many years chasing the money, and this has definitely been my reporting. The surrogacy story involving Harry and Meghan Markle has made its way into the mainstream media, raising a lot of eyebrows. At first, Angela Levin's appearance on that morning show appeared to be simply another ordinary segment, but something immediately felt off. As usual, she exuded composure and calmness, but there was a certain energy in the room that suggested she was ready to stir things up. You already know that Angela Levin doesn't hold back if you know her. She doesn't modify her comments to prevent emotions or remain silent to keep things cozy. Others pay attention to her because she asks the questions that others avoid and highlights things that others are reluctant to voice aloud. Thus, it didn't feel like the typical casual discussion when she began discussing Prince Harry. She delved straight into themes that have been kept under wraps for years, particularly with regard to Archie and Lilibet, by eschewing the obvious ones. The tension changed almost immediately. Viewers at home probably weren't. And if she wants to do anything politically in America, it is on and off with her, isn't it? She can't use the title, I guess. What is she concerned about, then? She's so determined to get her own back that she won't simply drop out. Additionally, it requires a strong individual like William who will unwaveringly persevere through it. I wholeheartedly concur. When it came to misbehaving members of a royal family, things were handled a little more, you could say aggressively. You sent them off to fight, hoping that the conflict would take care of the rest. And so, I think in this sort of modern era, you do actually need some way to, discipline may sound like a harsh word, share with them, hey, you're part of this. You have to be in a situation like Harry. Because Harry and Meghan left in part because they thought they could just do whatever the heck they wanted. Nobody was going to refuse them or anticipate such a turn of events. What had begun as a routine morning broadcast abruptly took on an urgent quality, as if something grave were happening in real time. The atmosphere quickly shifted, and people stopped casually observing. With their eyes fixed on the television, everyone was paying close attention to what was being spoken. This didn't sound at all like regal discourse, so phones stopped scrolling and conversations ceased. This has nothing to do with style or informal attire. This concerned more profound issues pertaining to royal regulations, customs, and enduring expectations that span generations. It hit considerably harder because of the way she stated it. Every point was made with weight, but Angela maintained her composure the entire time, almost as if it were a casual discussion. Just straightforward remarks that caused people to pause and give it some serious thought. No dramatic tone or loud voice. Everything began to take off online in a matter of minutes. Videos rapidly went viral, responses flooded in, and people all over the world started dissecting every aspect in an attempt to figure out what it might all mean. Everyone in the audience responded in the same way. Was that what she just said? It seemed like one of those times you replay in your mind because you're not even certain you heard it correctly the first time. Meghan simply believes that she is too amazing to be excluded and that she will prevail because, should she lose her title, she will go to court. I'm not sure. It's really challenging. Losing your title is extremely difficult, but I sincerely hope it is taken away. She has been complaining about what a horrible experience she had for more than 6 years. She was on the verge of suicide. She had no desire to live. Music. So, what is she attempting to enter again? No one desires her. No matter what she is told, she will not be listening to a music. Therefore, you can't really put them in Buckingham Palace and tell them, look, if you feel like doing any work, do it. And if you don't. This is because Harry won't mind, which is amazing, but it's not the proper way to do that. Additionally, I believe that if you give them titles like Prince and Princess and leave them to school, they will be ridiculed. Even the host sitting next to her looked slightly caught off guard. Shifting in their seat like this wasn't how things were expected to go. However, Angela Levin didn't hesitate or stop. Things became even more intriguing when she maintained her composure and carried on as if she knew exactly where she was heading. She made a point regarding how royal births are typically handled, something that most people seldom give much thought to. There has been a well-defined framework, formal declarations, medical expert confirmations, public appearances, and meticulously disseminated information for decades. All of this is a part of a long-standing custom related to transparency and royal protocol. However, she implied that the same pattern did not apply to Archie and Lilibet. People found it more difficult to ignore her as she began to explain what was unusual. There were none of the customary formal updates that usually accompany a royal arrival, no comprehensive medical statements or breakdown of the birth process, and no pictures outside hospital doors as people are accustomed to seeing. In the past, everything was disseminated in a very formal and public manner. The time, place, and experts involved. Because royal lineage and transparency have always been so important, everything is documented. However, things were handled much more discreetly in this instance. People started to notice little elements that weren't entirely evident because Harry and Meghan decided to keep most information to a minimum. Certain information seemed to change depending on the source, some timing seemed unclear, and some pictures generated internet debates. These things might not seem significant on their own, but when people began to piece everything together, it began to feel different. She never became pregnant. Rather, the videos give conspiracy theorists more confidence. They're dubbing it Megspiracy, and the two are facing even more vicious mockery. The fact that it simply baffles the mind. For instance, only for titles. They therefore stated that they did not want Archie to have a title when he was initially born. He intended to live as a private citizen. I thought, bravo, you understand. He's not going to be a working member of the royal family. He is going to have to live a normal life and get a normal job. That is fantastic. Later, in the Oprah Winfrey interview, it was revealed that, well, they denied him a title and security because he is a mixed-race child. It seemed as though royal observers started comparing these births to others in recent years. And while previous royal arrivals followed a consistent public pattern, this situation appeared to be a clear departure from the norm. Angela Levin was quite forthright in her argument. She emphasized that, in comparison to earlier royal births, substantially fewer official details were made public based on what has been made public. This time, everything seemed more constrained, more regulated, and much more private than what people were used to. Normally, there are numerous confirmations, organized updates, and explicit documentation. At that point, the questions began to pile up quickly. People started to wonder why this strategy was so different. Why abandon customs that had been adhered to for so long? Suddenly, what had begun as a straightforward morning show moment became far more significant, with more people watching than anyone had anticipated. These were not minor adjustments. They seemed like significant changes to a system that people had always thought was unchangeable. And Angela Levin didn't stay vague. either. She dissected it step by step, highlighting what appeared to be lacking. People leaned in and listened intently as she continued to speak. First, she zeroed in on the birth announcements, and that's where things really started catching attention. Official statements often contain all pertinent information, such as location, time, and weight, all of which are given in an organized manner. It's a procedure that hasn't changed in years, but Archie's situation wasn't the same. A few of the customary details were omitted, and the announcement came later than many had anticipated. People wondered why this felt so different just from that. When the time arrived, even more questions began to surface. When a royal is admitted, the public is typically notified prior to the birth, and updates are released soon after. Here, however, the news was disseminated on a time frame that seemed much more controlled and private, and it was released after everything had already occurred. And it didn't end there. Concerns regarding the location began to surface, with many reports pointing to different places. However, there was no definitive confirmation to resolve the matter. When it comes to royal occasions, people are not accustomed to that level of uncertainty. There were questions even about the timeline itself. The Duchess of Sussex, no longer HRH Music, was safely delivered of a son. She is doing well, as is her child. Returning to the custom of placing a framed bulletin or a gilded easel outside Buckingham Palace following royal births, this is a cool ritual that dates back to 1837. Additionally, George, Charlotte, and Louise mentioned the royal family and noted the names of the doctors along with their signatures, birth weight, and time. Harry and Meghan have never shown any proof to support that extremely provocative assertion. Not that they haven't had the opportunity. After all, some people started questioning whether everything lined up as predicted when they started comparing the information provided with the average duration of particular trips. And as soon as that idea comes up, the discourse becomes even more intriguing. It began to feel like one of those circumstances when the timing isn't quite right, and when that occurs, people naturally start to wonder what might be lacking. When the pictures arrived, the discussion took on a new dimension. A few viewers noticed that key aspects in some of Meghan's pregnancy photos appeared slightly different from what they were accustomed to. Longtime royal observers saw distinctions from earlier instances, but nothing formal or confirmed. Additionally, the images of Archie that were eventually made public were few and well chosen. That was particularly noteworthy because people are accustomed to more public, conventional photo opportunities for the introduction of royal babies. However, the lack of follow-up was what truly kept things going. Official clarifications are often issued promptly to address any issues that start to circulate. However, not much more information was disclosed this time, leaving them in the dark. Naturally, the internet intervened. Individuals began examining timetables, going back over previous remarks, and making connections between any little item they could uncover. It makes logical that some people thought there were straightforward causes, such as a desire for greater privacy. Others, however, began delving into more intricate concepts in an attempt to comprehend why everything seemed so strictly regulated. Online conversations quickly expanded. People everywhere were attempting to fit everything together, and comment sections became full-fledged discussions. It all boiled down to one thing, regardless of one's stance. Unanswered queries, imprecise timelines, gaps, and missing details continued to pop out. It's also difficult to overlook those gaps once they are identified. As Angela Levin persisted in highlighting what appeared to be lacking, more viewers returned and re-examined everything. Additionally, it didn't align with what people had witnessed with previous royal deliveries. What Prince Harry's reaction was to all of this became the crucial question. Reports started suggesting that he was under serious pressure as the story spread quickly. While the conversation continued to expand, it seemed like the emphasis moved to handling matters behind the scenes rather than answering every query in public. Reports soon detailed escalating stress, phones ringing constantly, frantic meetings taking place, and individuals attempting to keep up with the rapid pace of events. It gave the sense that everything was moving quickly and forcefully all at once. People will inevitably ask more questions when responses appear to be so robust. Why not deal quietly and forward if everything is clear-cut? Many onlookers began to ponder about that. Even more noteworthy was how this response felt different from previous ones. After years of non-stop media attention, Prince Harry has long been regarded as someone who can withstand pressure. However, the response seemed more tense this time, which took people by surprise. The response itself soon found its way into the narrative. Commentary, responses, and discussions about what was actually happening quickly flooded social media. Even his typical supporters began to wonder why everything seemed so dramatic. The emphasis soon completely changed. It was no longer only about what was said in that program. It was about how everything was being handled afterward, and that shift made the situation grow even bigger. According to other accounts, he was personally making calls and attempting to control how everything was being addressed, which left him feeling overburdened. Others said that the more answers were tried, the more chaotic the situation became, which just increased the pressure on him. From the outside, it didn't appear to be possible to stem the momentum at all, despite reports that those close to the crisis were attempting to calm things down and introduce structure. And such a response simply piqued people's interest. It all boils down to perspective. People naturally begin to wonder why someone reacts so passionately to queries. And this contrast was very noticeable. Angela Levin seemed composed and solid on one side, merely expressing her viewpoint. On the other hand, the reaction appeared to be much more forceful. It wasn't long before others noticed the difference. Online responses were swift and forceful. While some disputed what it might all signify, many others wondered why everything felt so intense. As the crisis continued to escalate into something far larger than anticipated, even devoted supporters began to feel uncertain. In the US, jokes about it began to appear on late-night shows. It was rapidly picked up by British tabloids, and commenters on the internet started dissecting every detail that was reported. Prince Harry was at the center of what could have been a straightforward explanation. However, at the same moment, something else caught people's attention right away. Meghan said nothing at all. No appearances, no updates, no public declarations, nothing at all. That silence attracted a lot of attention for someone who is known for being quite deliberate about their public persona. Harry and Meghan have always put on a united face, meticulously coordinating their public statements. However, that dynamic appeared to be different this time. Meghan remained entirely out of sight, despite rumors that Harry was actively attempting to control the situation. And that contrast didn't go unnoticed. It was immediately noted by onlookers how strange it was to watch one side become quite visible under pressure while the other stayed silent. People were left wondering what might actually be going on behind the scenes, as it provided another level to the narrative. Social media quickly became aware of it. Where's Meghan quickly became popular, with people all over the world posing the same question. Why didn't she say anything? Why didn't she stand at Harry's side the entire time? The quiet turned into a headline in and of itself. Timelines were inundated with posts, some of which showed Harry appearing anxious and others of which mocked the fact that he appeared to be doing everything by himself while Meghan remained totally hidden. Opinions quickly diverged after that. Some thought it was wise to keep quiet, to keep music low-key and avoid drawing additional attention. It appeared to be a calculated move from that perspective. Others, however, had rather different perspectives. They perceived Harry as being left to handle everything alone, under constant strain, while Meghan remained in the background. And the discussion continued to be fueled by that contrast. This moment seemed strange for a couple who are known for projecting a strong, cohesive image. One side had completely vanished, while the other was under strain and very evident. Many individuals were left wondering, what's really going on here? After that change, Harry seemed to be managing everything alone this time, and Meghan's absence further increased conjecture. Royal pundits soon began to provide their opinions. Everyone agreed on one thing, but some interpreted her silence as remote and others as strategic. It was hard to ignore. When someone so visible suddenly steps back, people are going to talk. And the conjecture grew louder the longer that quiet persisted. Was she intentionally taking a step back? Awaiting a resolution? Or was there a different way to react behind the scenes? There were no definitive answers, and this uncertainty further heightened the intensity of the situation. Even those in close proximity to the scene started to notice a change. This time, the typical cooperation and coordination that individuals were used to didn't seem to be as evident. Something seemed to have altered, and that quickly attracted notice. Their public persona was based on their complete alignment, constant cooperation, and united front. However, that image no longer felt as firm as it had. Everything was happening all at once, and the contrast between Meghan's silence and Harry's visibility made the situation seem even more dire. Meghan said nothing at all, but Harry was out there, obviously under pressure. And that difference raises a lot of problems, regardless of how you interpret it. Angela Levin's strategy was receiving as much, if not more, attention at the same time. She wasn't loud or too emotional when she arrived. She remained composed, concentrated, and talked with great deliberateness. And for some reason, that made the landing much more difficult. Because it's simple for people to ignore someone who is shouting or acting excessively. However, it hits differently when someone asks clear questions, speaks quietly, and lays things out step by step. It causes individuals to pause and reflect deeply. Levin's approach was straightforward but incredibly powerful. She highlighted what appeared to be lacking, pointed out what was already known, and let viewers draw their own judgments. Just insights that sparked conversation, without over-the-top emotions or excessive delivery. Additionally, such a strategy made it more difficult for detractors to retaliate. She provided people pieces to examine themselves rather than dictating what they should believe. And that continued to intensify the conversation. Nor did Angela Levin simply show up once and then vanish. She continued to return. She added little information while maintaining the same measured tone each time, remaining steady, and composed. The same questions were asked in the same manner with no drama or increased voice. And that constancy began to gain significant traction. This is where things truly started to change. Harry appeared to draw more attention to the debate every time he attempted to back off or silence it. His response began to have a role in the narrative. What might have disappeared swiftly became a recurring theme that people kept returning to. Every outward manifestation of annoyance piqued people's interest in what Angela Levin had been highlighting from the beginning. It became impossible to overlook that disparity. Levin and Yanni Sangs, on the other hand, remained utterly unfazed, composed, and steady while restating her points without altering her tone. Harry, on the other hand, was reportedly under pressure and reacted angrily as events continued to unfold. Social media immediately noticed the difference. Everywhere you go, you see comparisons between calm and reactivity. Additionally, many were unable to stop discussing it. Many viewers found Levin more convincing because of her calm delivery, and Harry's answer attracted more attention and inquiries. People naturally begin to make their own opinions when one individual remains composed while the other appears stressed. And that contrast soon came to play a significant role in the narrative. Every time Angela Levin made an appearance, videos quickly went viral, garnering enormous views, frequent shares, and viewers watching to see if she would add anything more. It produced a vicious loop in which attention continued to increase rather than decrease. Additionally, the simplicity of her approach made it much more noteworthy. She didn't rely on audacious statements or spectacular delivery. By concentrating on what was already known and highlighting what appeared ambiguous, she made it even more impactful by allowing individuals to make their own connections. The response associated with Harry, however, appeared to be going in the other direction. The debate expanded and the story grew in scope as the frustration became more apparent. It was no longer solely about the initial subject at that moment. It has to do with perception. Harry's response created even more concerns, but Levin came out as calm and collected. After then, things got even worse. What began as a single TV segment swiftly became a worldwide media phenomenon. Everywhere there was coverage, the spotlight continued to grow. American morning programs went right in, devoting entire segments to dissecting everything. Clips of Angela Levin were repeatedly shown, with presenters dissecting her remarks and going over every detail that was known about Harry's reaction. This was no longer only informal reportage. It had garnered significant media attention. In the UK, tabloids pushed the story non-stop, with bold headlines and constant updates that kept the topic front and center. The public's perspective has drastically changed. One moment, Harry was seen in a certain light, and the next, he was at the center of global conversations filled with debate and strong opinions. Even more attention was drawn to late-night shows. Comedians focused entire segments on the subject, highlighting the contrast between the intensity of the reactions being expressed and Levin's composed delivery. and it grew even more on the internet. People couldn't stop talking about it in discussion threads, reaction videos, and breakdowns. Creators posted clips that swiftly reached enormous audiences, reenacted moments, and examined time frames. What began as a single broadcast became a viral phenomenon that continued to expand. These videos quickly gained popularity and garnered enormous numbers of views due to their shocking reactions. It abruptly turned into a never-ending cycle of content. Even those who had never kept up with royal news were becoming interested. Every update was being watched by viewers who were previously uninterested in titles or customs, attempting to comprehend what was going on. It had gained widespread recognition. People were reconsidering their thoughts in the comment sections. Some claimed that although they had previously backed Harry, they were now dissatisfied with the way things were being handled. Others wondered why things weren't being addressed more directly. And the momentum continued to increase rather than decrease. Every step that was reported resulted in further content, conversation, and responses that sustained the narrative. There were constant similarities between Levin and Harry. The same contrast is repeated in arguments, breakdowns, and side-by-side clips. Additionally, individuals were unable to stop scrutinizing it. Everyone stepped in, including global audiences, internet creators, and TV panelists. This had become one of those stories that just wouldn't fade.